In 9.3, we are going to learn how to add and subtract radicals. Just like in anything in math, remember that they have to be like terms. And we've looked at these type of problems before where we just had numbers like 2 and 3 that we were trying to add or subtract. We've looked at times when we had an x or a 2x or 2y squared and a negative 5y squared. But we are going to be looking at ones that have square roots in them, and we've got to make sure that the number that's underneath the square root is the same. And then once those are the same, then we can just add the numbers that are sitting in front or subtract the numbers that are sitting in front, and then carry over the square root. In this case, that we would be carrying over the square root of 2. So again, we've got to make sure that the number that's sitting underneath the square root or the cube root or whatever root that they give us is the same number before we can add or subtract the two terms together. So if we look at example 1, we have 4 square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 5. We can see here that they both have a square root of 5, therefore they are like terms. So to add these together, we simply take the two numbers that are sitting in front of the square root of 5. So 4 plus 3 is 7. We carry over the square root of 5, and we are now finished simplifying that problem. On number 2, we have 1 times the square root of 10 minus 6 times the square root of 10. Remember, if there's not a number sitting in front of the root, it's just a 1. Because they both have a square root of 10, these are like terms and we can combine them. So we're going to take this 1 and we're going to subtract 6. So 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Carry over the square root of 10 and we have our answer. Number 3 has cube roots. So we've got to make sure that they all have cube roots, which they do. You can see the little 3 here, here, and here. So they all have a 7 underneath that cube root. So they are all like terms. Again, these first two terms don't have a number in front. So we can just put that imaginary 1. So 1 cube root of 7 plus 1 cube root of 7 is 2 cube root of 7. So if we just did that part, we would have 2 cube root of 7 minus 4 cube root of 7. And so now we can combine the 2 and the negative 4. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2 cube root of 7. That's our final answer. On number 4, they do both have a 6 underneath the root, but notice what the root is. On this first one, it's a 2. Remember, when there's not a root written, that's an imaginary 2. But this root has a 3. So these are not like terms. Even though they do have the same number underneath, the roots are not the same. So we cannot simplify this particular problem because these roots are not the same. So this is just our answer. On number 5, you can see that they do not have the same number under the square root. But now we're going to apply what we were doing in previous lessons. So we're going to simplify each of these radicals, and then we can see then if they are like terms and we can add them together. So thinking of our list of numbers that can divide 50, what we're going to want to split 50 into is 25 times 2. And then looking at 8, we're going to want to split that up into 4 times 2. The square root of 25 is 5, so we have 5 square root of 2 for the first one. The square root of 4 is 2, so we have 2 square root of 2 for the second one. Now we see that they are like terms because they both have a square root of 2 sitting next to them. So we can combine the numbers that are in front. So 5 plus 2 is 7, so 7 square root of 2 would be our answer. Doing the same thing on number 6, we can see that the numbers underneath the radical are not the same. So we're going to use this process that we did on number 5 and that we did in previous lessons to simplify. Remember, we saw these with numbers in front. Just keep carrying that over. So I have the 7, and then I'm going to split 12 into 4 times 3. And I'm going to split 75 into 25 times 3. So bringing down the 7 once again, the square root of 4 is 2. Carry down the square root of 3, minus square root of 25 is 5. Carry down the square root of 3. Right here we have 7 times 2, which is 14. So we have 14 square root of 3 minus 5 square root of 3. If I can get my pencil to work. There we go. So now we have like terms because they both have a square root of 3 next to them. So we can subtract those. So 14 minus 5 is 9. So our answer is 9 square root of 3. The last problem, same thing. You can see the numbers underneath the square root are not the same. So we are going to simplify just like we did on problems 5 and 6. So we're going to start by changing 98 to 49 times 2 minus, carry down the 5 that was right there. We saw 8 earlier. That got split into 4 times 2. So now the square root of 49 is 7. So we have 7 square root of 2 for the first one. Minus, we have that 5 times the square root of 4, which is 2. Carry down your square root of 2. So we have 7 square root of 2 minus 5 times 2 is 10 square root of 2. Now you can see that they are like terms because they both have a square root of 2. So 7 minus 10 is negative 3 square root of 2, and that's our final answer.